Program, the opinions are those of the hosts and guests and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. That's right, I'm Joe Mangiacotti from AM 830 WCRN. We're also live streaming on the TuneIn app, folks. So if you want to go to TuneIn, just punch in WCRN, and you can take us anywhere. And you should have WCRN saved as well. We do have a WCRN app, by the way, and if you go to our website, we are live streaming there as well. I also happen to be streaming the show on my social media platforms, so Facebook and Twitter at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, and on my LinkedIn page, YouTube channel at the Joe Mangiacotti Show, and even on Twitch TV at Joe M Show. So we do have it set up. I am solo today. So a little different if you do tune in and check it out. You'll see it's a different studio. I'm in the control room opposed to the broadcast studio. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines open and available for the next hour. Ketanji Brown Jackson is on the South Lawn right now of the White House. First, Kamala Harris came out and introduced the president. This is all lunchtime. 12:30ish. The president spoke a little bit. He threw in a little bit about his big work with Nelson Mandela, apparently, and all the work he did with apartheid. And now Judge Jackson took the podium a little before 1 o'clock. Now, she will become Justice Jackson when Justice Breyer does step down and retire. That won't be they say maybe July, June, July. Now, one of the things they mentioned was none of the justices are on the South Lawn this afternoon. They said none of the justices are there out of respect because Justice Breyer is still sitting, and she's not going to ascend to that position until he is officially gone. Okay, what am I missing there? So what? I mean, he announced he's retiring. I would think that the justices would be there to hear the newest member. I mean, this is a very, elite club, is it not? The Supreme Court of the United States. It's only 9 of them at a time. I know they often refer to the Senate, right, as this exclusive club because there are only 100 senators. But the court's even more elite in the sense that there are only 9 justices and far few of them over the course of the country, where it's a lifetime position. Nonetheless, I find it odd that none of the justices are there this afternoon because Justice Breyer is still sitting. So I'm not sure how that plays into it or how that role becomes insulting to be there. But I guess, according to them, it is. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Now, we're flying blind, so I'm going to go to the phones and say,
hello.
Hey, good afternoon. Who's calling? Who is this? Who's calling? Hello? Yeah,
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Who's this, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mark, you're on the line. I'm solo, so I don't know who's on the phone before I answer it.
Okay.
What's up?
I want to point out one of my favorite topics, the fake news.
Yep.
Coming out of Boston TV stations. Now, last week, I made it purposeful to look at the stations for the coverage of the United States Marine Corps captain who was killed on duty while participating in NATO exercises in, of all places, Norway. Now, he had a full military funeral in, I believe, Leominster, with the U.S. Marine Corps Honor Guard, full military honors burial. Not one station covered it. Now, I'm looking at Judge Brown being with the President of the United States, as you just mentioned, the Vice President of the United States in front of the lawn, full court press, Channel 2, Channel 4, 5, 7, 10, 25, they've all preempted everything to show it. That didn't happen with the Marine Corps captain who died on a NATO exercises. They couldn't be bothered.
Yeah. No, I
that
agree
shows you the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
In the media.
Yeah. So we'll bring some people up to speed here. It was a United States Marine Corps pilot who was here from Massachusetts. He was killed on a crash during a training flight in Norway. He's from Leominster, Massachusetts. He was 27-year-old Captain Ross Reynolds. They had full honors. I think it was Tuesday, Mark, right? It was Tuesday.
Yep.
They buried him or honored him. And
yep.
Although I know I had actually put that in a news story I'd written for the station. I don't know if it did because it gets loaded up. But honestly, I didn't realize that the Boston stations didn't cover it. That's amazing to me, actually. I mean, this is a son of Massachusetts.
Not one.
Now, why do you think that
Not
is?
one.
Why? Because he's a Marine, or I mean, why? Why would
Because they don't give a damn. That's why.
Yeah.
When it's politically expedient for them to tout something like that regarding the military and how much they love them and how much they care for them, they'll put it on. But when it's not, it doesn't fit their narrative or it doesn't fit their political agenda, they can't be bothered.
Got it. Yeah. Well, thanks for noticing that. And I think that's a shame. I got to tell you something. When I do watch the local stations, I ask myself, who are the news directors? Because whatever you see on the air, that's not the anchors. It's not the anchor. I mean, the anchor is this is what they're told, right? There's somebody fills the teleprompter, gives them the story and all that.
They're talking heads.
Yeah, they are talking heads. So it's the news director at both a news radio station and a TV station. They are the people who decide what is covered and even how it's covered, right? The angle they're taking, the tone that they're setting. And if you've got somebody in that position who puts, their personal feelings, agenda, and politics ahead of what they should, and that is news, period. The facts, take your personal feelings out of it. Then we have a problem. But that should be filled. That position should be filled with that type of person, shouldn't it?
I'll end with this. All right, another factoid. Right, last week, Sacramento, California, 6 people were shot dead. 18 were wounded, I believe. I don't know, maybe one of them will expire, but 6 so far. It's 18 were shot, 6 died as a result of the shootings. The suspects were apprehended. One of them is their brothers. One of them is name is DeAndre Martin, and believe it or not, his brother, his name is Smiley Martin.
Yeah.
And they both been taken to custody. How much have you seen about that on the mainstream media? Practically zilch. And the reason why is because it doesn't fit the agenda. Both guys that are in custody as of right now, 2 brothers, are black.
And because these are the guys, right? They were released. What was it? 6 years short of a 10-year sentence, right? They've only served Smiley anyway. He served 4 years, and I saw the clip of the DA who wrote against the release, saying that this person has no regard for life whatsoever, will be a problem, will offend again. Why is somebody with a 10-year sentence being left out? I saw Judge Jean Pirro speak about this, and apparently she has a friend in the DA's office in Sacramento. Called the DA, said, what the heck are you doing with this? And they said, look, unbelievable. And she said, well, is this good time or what? No, they're making stuff up. These boards, right? These parole boards in the Department of Correction out there, they're just doing whatever they want. It's like the Wild West. There's no
How much
law.
coverage have you seen on the mainstream media? Practically nothing.
Yeah, practically nothing. It's only the Fox, the 5 I saw it covered. Just to tell you the truth, is the only place I saw it covered. So I don't know what that means, but it isn't covered because it doesn't. And the other thing is the gun, right? He should have never had the gun. right? He took a
Well,
gun,
we
he
know all
modified
this.
that. Pardon?
We know all this.
What,
But
well,
what
yeah,
I'm
but
talking
this is a
about
talk
is
show.
that they spiked the story. It's only a week ago, and you hear nothing about it. It's almost as though it never happened, as far as the mainstream media is concerned. Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, you're right on that, and that goes for time and time again on all types of things. As a matter of fact, after the break, I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple college kids who put Stelzer on the hot seat when it comes to news coverage. But we know this.
Thanks for taking my call, and thank you for being on the air and pointing out to the people what the mainstream media won't. It's just this blatant hypocrisy. It's sickening. Have a good one, sir.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. All right, folks. Mark makes a great point, right? The stories, but we see this, and we're looking at this. I mean, this is blatant in front of us with the latest that all of a sudden, because the New York Times and then the Post have decided that what was very much a true story and a legitimate story is now, in fact, a legitimate story, and that's the Hunter Biden laptop. And I say, why does it take the New York Times to have to say this is legit when another or several other, actually, but most importantly, it was the New York Post who came out and broke that story, yet they were told, no, it's Russian propaganda. And the 51 intelligence officers who signed out for that, where are they today? This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show, AM 830 WCRN. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side.
Full service radio.
HP Savings Month at Staples means big savings on great HP products all month long. Now buy one HP ink and get the second at 40% off and experience the outstanding print quality of HP ink. Ends 4/8. Restrictions apply. See staples.com/HP month. Staples. Make more happen.
93% of adults listen to the radio each week. Of those exposed to radio ads, over half made a purchase. Despite how often the media reports on newer forms of advertising, it is, in fact, free broadcast radio that most effectively reaches and truly influences customers. Radio allows you to place your company's message directly to the radio audience for 30 or 60 seconds, and it's a gold mine. Radio advertisements are more memorable compared to written and visual ads. It's just this simple. Sound is stored more effectively inside memories. Reach over 90% of this market's potential customers with your radio message on WCRN Full Service Radio. Call station manager Chris Thompson at 508-870-5803, extension 222, or visit WCRNradio.com.
He's back. Don't miss the new Peter Blute Show on WCRN Full Service Radio on Sunday mornings beginning at 9 a.m. Hey, if you haven't noticed yet, we live in extremely interesting times. The battle in Washington, D.C. has been volatile. On Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., the new Peter Blute Show will explore the issues, take your calls, and ask the questions that need to be asked. Don't forget, the new Peter Blute Show, Sunday morning starting at 9 a.m. on AM 830 WCRN.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. When he drives a car off a lot, the value goes up. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. If you don't have TuneIn on your device, easy to download it in a matter of seconds. Punch in WCRN, then I'd hit the favorite button, actually. So it's easy to get to. You can also tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do that, no questions asked. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We're live streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show. So Mark made a good point that, I know he used the specific or a couple specific examples, but that goes to the bigger question as to how we are driven to what we are allowed to see. Other people are making these decisions. I mean, look what it did this past week. It drew one of the richest men in the world, Elon Musk, to purchase 9.2% of Twitter. And talk about a guy who's putting his money where his mouth is. I mean, he's a huge advocate and believer of the First Amendment, thank goodness. And he didn't like Twitter's censoring and algorithms. And I wish somebody would do that with Facebook as well. I mean, these fact checkers, if you start to look who they are, right, they're recycled employees of either the DNC, Obama, Hilton, Hillary Clinton. They're coming from the left somewhere, right? And they're just moving around. All these people just move around different positions. And I always said, you look at like when they come to the presidential debates, notice it's always the same book of people who are MC or on the panel. Why don't they ever open that up to a little diversity? Maybe some people who are more conservative or from the right who get to run some of these presidential campaigns. Now, something that's interesting, this Ann Applebaum, right? She's a journalist, and she was speaking, I don't know, at some panel or something. And what's interesting is she was asked about, as is a lot of media outlets are now being asked about, why weren't they covering the laptop panel? And as a side note, I had mentioned it before we went to the break. So CNN did this information panel, right, about fake news and information out there, which is, in my opinion, the irony is crazy. CNN's talking about fake news. They haven't got anything right. Well, there were a couple college age, I think they're aspiring journalists. I hope they are. And they put it right to CNN. And one in particular was asking Brian Stelzer about going back to the laptop, and CNN, he said, in CNN in particular, we have gotten it wrong so many times. What's your accountability for this? I mean, it was great. Of course, Stelzer's like, well, it's time for lunch. We got to move it on. And again, he's absolutely in some other alternative universe here. He doesn't get it. They live in that bubble. And if you are outside the bubble, you don't agree with them, you challenge them on anything, you are just dismissed. You're a rube. You're too stupid. You don't get it. You don't understand it. And so now this journalist and author, apparently, Ann Applebaum, she dismissed the question about influence Hunter Biden's laptop could have had on the 2020 election. She says, now, she's going to decide this, and the rest of us are supposed to nod our head and say, okay, I got it, stating that it's totally irrelevant and that she personally isn't interested. Well, here's the thing. Who cares whether you're interested or not? And if you're not interested in the Hunter Biden laptop and you don't have the gray matter to understand how it's relevant to the presidency, because it's a dad-son situation, in that the Biden family has used the influence of the senator's job, right, the Joe Biden as senator for influence, then as vice president, that this is what they've done. They've sold access to Joe's positions over the years. If you don't understand, you can't comprehend the relevance of that today and how it plays into the president's office today, that's on you. But somehow I suspect you do have enough gray matter to put it together, but you've elected to ignore it and to downplay it. A new report says that the president's brother, James Biden, and Hunter, they had over 150 transactions involving global business affairs that were allegedly flagged as concerning by the U.S. banks, including large wire transfers. And the thing about that is, so you have just a cog in the big wheel, right? In the banking industry and the regulation area, that they're doing a job. I suspect that those people, they're not politically motivated. They're not looking at that. They're just looking at the transactions, and as the transactions come by and through, and they see these large. I mean, look, back in the day, it was 10,000, and then it was 7,500. Right? The IRS keeps lowering that notification amount, but the amount of money that was being transferred into the Biden crime family here and from various sources, international sources, were so large they couldn't cut it down to under $10,000 cuts. So there's all these large amounts of money being transferred on wires, and naturally, they're getting flagged because somebody's doing their job. And their job is to watch this, and especially since 9/11, right? When the Patriot Act went in and all of that's when the IRS lowered the amount and they started looking at things. And for any of you that have, maybe purchased the house way back before 9/11, over, 21 years ago, right? If you could remember that closing, and then if you've sold your house and bought a house or a second house after 9/11, you would notice the difference at the closing table. Now, as a guy who's in real estate and mortgages for a lot of years, I never understood back in the old time why things like where's your ID wasn't asked at a closing table. But now it is, right? They've got to document your license and multiple forms of identification, and you've got to confirm who you are. But at one time, it wasn't like that. So whoever this was in the banking industry and the feds, they're looking at these transactions. Over 150 got flagged because there were just large amounts of money that really didn't make sense. Because, look, if they're looking at Walmart, who is going to wire millions of dollars to the company in Korea or even China that is making whatever they're making for Walmart, it's all making sense. But when you start having tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, much less millions of dollars being wired around the world, and it's not making sense with the big corporation, they get flagged. And they're always trying to tie things back to the Trump family. And the thing about this is, you know what? There was never one transaction that was flagged for Donald Trump or the kids. And you know how I know that? Because you wouldn't have heard the end of it if it was. It would have been leaked, and you would have heard about it. So the thing about Ann Applebaum here, folks, that she's not concerned and she's not interested about it, totally irrelevant. First of all, again, we got to go back to question whether you're just not that intelligent or you're pretending to be not that intelligent. And I can see, I don't blame her for dismissing this scandal, because if you think about it, she was instrumental in it. She was one of those journalists, part of one of those outlets that did not cover it and ignored it. And this is a story that has total relevance to the presidency. I mean, it has international intrigue, even Chinese spies. Hey, don't forget the diamonds, right? From the mayor's wife, or former mayor of Moscow's wife, right? Let's not forget that. It has prostitutes. It has impeachment, big tech conspiracy, even crack cocaine. And don't forget the Chateau Marmont, right? Where the strippers were with Biden and the president's brother. It even has Obama's team a little worried here. I mean, this is a interesting, juicy story, right? It has it all. So don't say it's not interesting, because that is so far from the truth. It's one of the most interesting stories that we've ever had in American history, and one of the most important, because the question has to be asked, and it should be being asked by the journalists, right? because we've got to get to the bottom of this. How compromised is the office of the presidency right now? How much money has come in from China, Moscow, Ukraine to the Biden family? Right? We have the office space that was shared. We've got the commingling of the monies, the credit cards, the laptop, all those emails. And I know people talk about all the pictures and so forth, and yeah, they're juicy and scandalous. I don't care about the pictures. And quite frankly, I don't care what somebody does in their private life, whatever they do. But when you're in the position and the only thing that you have to offer to the world, like Hunter Biden, is just the last name, that surname, and the access to the president, and that's all you have to sell, and that's all you have as a worth in the world, and then that guy, Dad, ascends to the highest office in the land. Where was the divestiture of the business deals? That hasn't happened. And then the whole new scam with the artwork comes up, and that's pretty disgusting when you think about it. I mean, it has always been known for its money laundering. Hey, we got to take a break here at 5:30. The Joe Mangiacotti Show, Friday edition. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. I mean, we are looking so much better this afternoon after a solid soaking this morning. We're going to see increasing sunshine, and I think for most of us, we keep it clear with highs in the 60s. There is a slight chance for a lonely pop-up shower somewhere out there this afternoon, but the chances are low enough that you should go out and about and enjoy. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
There's a threat targeting America, one that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org. Brought to you by the Stephen and Alexandra Cohen Foundation and this station.
Think you're dealing with drug poisoning, chemical poisoning, food poisoning? Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tune in to It's the Liquor Talking on WCRN AM 830 from 11 to 1 p.m. on Saturday mornings.
This is Pat Crowley of Hirschman, Falshman, Crowley with a WCRN Tax Minute. For the past couple of days, we've been talking about tax savings tips for your Massachusetts tax return. Are you listening to this while commuting down the pike into Boston? If so, there's a Massachusetts deduction that is available to you. You can deduct up to $750 of the tolls that you pay through a fast lane account, or up to $750 for MBTA transit or commuter rail weekly or monthly passes. Are you a college student who's listening to this while you're cramming for that test later today? If so, you're entitled to a deduction for tuition payments that exceed 25% of your Massachusetts adjusted gross income. And if you pay undergraduate student loans, you're able to deduct all of your interest paid, even if you lose the federal deduction due to income phase-outs, or if your interest expense exceeds the federal limit of $2,500. If you have a question on today's topic or any tax matter, call me for a free consultation on the tax line. Dial 508-TAX-LINE. That's 508-829-5463. And if you would like the WCRN Tax Minute sent to your email every weekday morning, sign up on the Tax Minute tab of our website at hfctax.com. On a fairly regular basis, we at Hirschman, Falsterman, Crowley represent new clients that are being audited that we did not prepare income tax returns for. The taxing authorities usually propose changes to these tax returns, and we're very good at mitigating the increase in tax. However, it is extremely rare for there to be an audit change on a tax return that we prepared. This is because we know the tax law and how the IRS and DOR conducts audits. Unlike many other firms, at Hirschman, Falsterman, Crowley, we provide start-to-finish service when it comes to income tax preparation. We treat every return we prepare as if it's going to be audited, so that if it is audited, you will have no problems when we represent you in front of the IRS or the Department of Revenue.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. His tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we're live streaming on the TuneIn app and, of course, on our website as well. And I'm streaming this on my Facebook and Twitter page at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. YouTube channel, the Joe Mangiacotti Show as well. Don't forget, you can also reach out to the show off air if you'd like to contact us. Don't use the text Joe on the radio. Email, use the joemshow@gmail.com. joemshow@gmail.com. We even have an office number, 508-603-9778. All right, that's how you reach us off air. If you want to reach us on here and join the conversation, you can do that right now at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Let's go to Ken. Hey, Ken, what's up? Good afternoon. Did you watch any of the South Lawn this afternoon?
Oh, maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah. Which part, Kamala, the president, or Judge Brown Jackson?
I think Biden was speaking, but
yeah,
it totally disinterested me. So on to something else.
Did you catch the part where he threw in about Nelson Mandela and all the work he did, or at least in his head he did?
You mentioned it. Well, sometime later today we might find out if that's true or not.
Yeah,
but whatever.
It's come up
I
a
don't think
couple
it matters
times.
much.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
It might have just been in his civil rights marching memory, which was false.
In between driving the big rig 18-wheeler and
there you go.
These other things that he did. Yeah. What's up?
So, I'm thinking, you're describing the crime family story, and, as we know, much like Mark was describing, the media is not going to ever put the word gate on the end of what's going on. But why don't we do it?
Biden gate, Hunter gate.
Why don't we call it laptop gate?
Laptop gate. Well, I think, the thing about the laptop is the instrument that, blew it open in the sense that there's actually now evidence, right? Now, the fact that the head of the cyber division of the FBI sat in the hearing and told Congressman Gates from Florida, I don't have the laptop and I don't know where it is. Out of all of the pieces of evidence, all of the documentation and processes that are in place at the FBI, the one piece, the one thing that goes missing is Hunter Biden's laptop, the drive. That's incredibly lucky for poor Hunter.
Yeah, you'd expect them to be honorable, Joe. Come on.
But yes, you
we know
would.
better than that.
And again, before I get the texts and the emails, I absolutely believe and agree that 99% of all the FBI and federal agents are in that for the right thing, are honest, and they have integrity. But we have learned that there's a handful of people in leadership roles in these federal agencies who put politics and personal agenda above their position and therefore above the Constitution. and that is disgusting. And I'll get a little into this with the FBI. And by the way, I don't know if you saw those fake Homeland Security agents, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, so you're saying we put a name to this, Laptop Gate or Biden Gate, Hunter Gate. I think because the laptop's just a little piece of it. If you really were honest, Ken, we can look at it. They would be able to establish years of a pattern of behavior here of what Joe did as senator and vice president. I mean, the story that broke about the letters that he wrote for Hunter's Chinese business partners' kids to get into Brown and other colleges. And that right there, I think it speaks to Hunter's comment that he never discussed the business with Hunter. He didn't know anything about what's going on, even though his son's flying on Air Force 2 with him, right? Hours and hours into the air, over to China, meets all these guys. Hunter doesn't explain who he's meeting. I mean, there are pictures of them. And then he's writing letters for them later on for their sons. And Joe's maintaining he never speaks to Hunter about everything. And then all of a sudden, there's an influx of cash. And I'm not talking little cash, Ken, right? Hunter came back with $1.5 billion, with a B, folks, $1 billion under management, and millions of dollars in other compensations, right? He got paid $1 million retainer to represent the one of the partners, who's now in jail, by the way, in prison. And you go, oh, Hunter's not a lawyer. How do you get $1 million retainer to represent somebody in legal trouble when you're not a lawyer? How does that work?
Well, it also helps to have John Kerry's stepson part of all this shenanigans.
Yep.
Chris Hines. What a coincidence.
Now, which one of them? There was one of the two. I don't know if it was the Hines kid or Kerry's, but one of them had the integrity to say, who stepped away. But I don't remember which one it is. Maybe somebody remembers who it is. But they said this doesn't look right. It don't smell right. I don't know. And he walked out. But I don't remember which one it was.
Well, no, there's only one, Joe. There's Chris Hines is Kerry's stepson. So there isn't a son of Kerry, a stepson.
But what? So maybe it was just him. But one of somebody involved in that whole Biden, in that shared office, in that money management thing that they were going to do. It must be Hines then, who said,
right.
Yeah, this I don't like this. And the other thing, Ken, is Tony Babalewski, right? Here's a guy who has gone on the record, and he straight out said the big guy is Joe Biden. He's clarified all this. If this was the other side, I know we always do that if it was a Trump thing. But if somebody came out and said, yeah, that thing, this email to Don Jr., where he refers to the big guy, that's sad. Now, why is Hunter holding 10% of millions of dollars for anyone other than a family member? I don't know.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Joe, all of what's happening, though, kind of came into fruition to me as to the events on Tuesday. Did you catch what happened in the White House?
What are you talking about specifically Tuesday?
They had a 12th year anniversary for the ACA.
Yeah. You're talking about Obama. Oh, my goodness. Did you watch the ceremony in the room? I forget which room they were in. But if you did not understand who was really in charge, I think it was illustrated there.
Yeah.
I mean, they were crowded around Barack Obama. And there was a point there, and it's not even funny, folks. Joe was wandering around. He's kind of Mirandering. And then that lady in the red dress kind of, went over and did Jill's job, right? Joe wasn't there, apparently.
There you go.
And so she kind of stepped in and took Joe and, brought him kind of back into what was going on. And if it wasn't the president of the United States, and this is the type of thing you see people with older members of their family all the time, constantly, here, Pa, here, Ma, come this way, here, sit here, here's your cake, whatever. It wasn't funny. It was sad. I mean, he couldn't even, they ignored him. He got pushed out of the way.
Joe, you have to realize that Barack was coming from a long, long distance, 2 miles away. Now, I'm putting this together. I'm connecting the dots, Joe. I think I know where this all hits. This is something to chew on over the weekend. The next vice president will be Barack Obama when Joe resigns and Kamala becomes the president. And somebody needs to help her with the training wheels.
Yeah,
and I know you're going to say, but the 12th Amendment and the 22nd Amendment, guess what? Who do we have for the Supreme Court justice? John Roberts. He's going to greenlight it just like he did HG. It's only appropriate.
I don't know. I can't believe that we, as the American people, are going to swallow a third, because in essence, as a vice president, you are a heartbeat away, and that can't happen.
In January, it can, because you won't be serving more than 10 years. Well, here's the point. The Supreme Court is going to be challenged, and they'll rule whatever they want, and the media is going to challenge Roberts. You have to do what we want, and I think it'll happen.
That's a good theory. I mean, will it happen? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting theory. But I hope it's not. I mean, and the other thing is, if Barack Obama's Michelle Obama had any interest whatsoever in actually being the president, that would have already been finagled as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
right?
She doesn't.
But she doesn't. She rather be, well, I mean, she kind of lives the life of the closest thing we have to royalty in this country, right? She's Michelle Obama. The former first lady. She had plenty of money, right? They've got the mansion, on the islands here in Massachusetts. They got the mansion on the other ocean in Hawaii. He's apparently not worried about the water, sea level rising up, because he spent tens of millions of dollars between these two homes. But if she was interested in actually being someone they would have arranged. She would be the VP right now. Waiting to take Joe's job. So fortunately, I think luckily for us, Michelle has no interest in any of that. So that's not going to happen. But I don't know if that's the case. The thing is, how do they remove Joe, or how does Joe decide to step down and they jump over Kamala? And I don't think that's Barack's plan. I think the whole time is to.
No, it wasn't his plan the whole time, but effectively the events are carrying out in a way that
wait. Let's back up. You don't think that because we all kind of know he's the one who put her into the position. He made the phone calls and all that. Yeah. So, and you got to think that Barack never really expected Joe to finish the 4 years out, or say he did, but not run again and set it up for her. But I don't think she would ever be able to get elected unless there was some serious, rule changing like there was in 2020 with the extension of, we're not going to get into that conversation, that she couldn't even get, 7-8% out of her own state when she was running in the primary. So the only way she would actually end up in the Oval Office is to be to ascend from the VP, right? So I think that this is what Obama's wanted. He wanted Kamala in that spot. He wanted Joe either not running a second term or not complete his first term, so that she moves into it. But I don't know if he correctly estimated the amount of unqualified status of this woman, right, and how much distaste the American people have for her.
He expected much more from her. I'm with
I
you
think she underperformed, totally underperformed.
He didn't want to come back, but I think the word's going out. Who else can save this mess?
I stop there. Who else can? What are you telling me that the bench for the Democratic Party is 3 people deep? Are you kidding me? They don't have anybody on the Democratic side.
It's awful. They're a mess.
I mean, somebody, 508-871-7000, can somebody come up with a charismatic Democrat of age, right, who's 35 years old and has a highly functioning IQ And even if they're Democrat, if they're actually a moderate Democrat or at least a common sense person, I'm fine with that. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to see an AOC or a member of the squad in there because they're
But
just
she'll
out
be
of touch.
35.
Pardon
She'll
me?
be 35 in 2 years, Joe.
AOC,
Don't rule that out.
AOC, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
wow. But I just the
Exactly.
point is I can't believe that the bench is that short.
They
It's-
got nothing.
And when you
Because
look over
Obama
at the
wiped it out.
Democratic side, excuse me, the Republican side, right? We've got Ron DeSantis, we've got Texas governor, we've got former Nikki Haley. All right, I would love to see Nikki Haley as a VP. I wouldn't mind seeing Ron DeSantis in Haley ticket. That would not suck.
Joe, the Democrats lost about 1,000 seats nationally at all levels during Obama's term. What do you think that did? That wiped out their bench.
There's
ain't
got
got
to
nothing.
be somebody.
And
I
they
know
got
somebody
nothing to
like
say.
Newsom might fancy
Yeah.
himself a
Yeah.
contender, but
Yeah,
will
he'll win
that
one state.
ultra liberal California hippy dippy stuff translate to the rest of the world or the rest
Not
of the
at all.
country? So I don't know. I think the bench is pretty sad on that.
They got no bench and they got no money because we're in $30 trillion of debt, and that's bomb is hitting with inflation.
Yeah.
The issues are all turning against them.
Yeah. And you notice how all of a sudden the IRS is, they're going. I had the story last week, right? They went into, people, hundreds of thousands of people's accounts, and they're looking at, transactions not even $600 but $500, and now they're talking about, people having to issue 1099s when you do something, like if you hire a painter. Now, normally you hire a painter, they paint your house, you pay, say it was $8,000, right? You pay them $8,000. That's it. And then it's supposed to be that company lists that as their income. Now the IRS is talking about every time over a certain amount of money, you got to issue a 1099 so that they have a record that this company with this federal ed tax ID number received $8,000 from you. And then they can go look at that person's returns to see if the 8,000 shows up on that end. This is and why all of a sudden are we getting into this, which is really a police state. When you get down to it, it's because we spent trillions of dollars we don't have. And
hey, the Biden budget calls for twice as many IRS agents. So what else do they have to do? They have to go out and attack their political opponent any way they can.
Yeah. And actually, if you want to go back to the anniversary that we just had, like you mentioned on Tuesday for Obamacare, that legislation, by the way, hired something like 800 IRS agents because they put in a bunch of tax fees and fines in there that didn't get a lot of discussion back at the time. I was doing a different show back in those days, and I was talking about it and saying, isn't anybody going to talk about, look at all these things? And they're sliding a little fee onto your house. If you sell a house over a certain amount of money, they're collecting some money there. There were all kinds of stuff that they put in there. And the thing about the Obamacare, the Affordable Act Care, don't you love how they can name it? And therefore, because it's named Affordable Act Care, you need to support it, because guess what? It's affordable. But when they put that into place, I mean, there were, first of all, thousands, tens, I don't know how many people, but people lost, right, all the lies that were in there. But what they did with it, after they rammed it through, they constantly changed it, right? And they altered it. And Ken, why wasn't this called? You can't pass legislation and then change a word of it. Technically, if you pass a bill, you pass a law, you put something in effect, how it passes, that's how it stays. That's why there are subcommittees and hearings, right? You iron everything out before you put it on a floor and it gets voted on. Why is this particular bill, and that's what it breaks down to, folks, why is that able to them change the verbiage in it? We can't do that with any other legislation we pass.
Joe, you know the answer to the question, don't you? John Roberts. And it's John Roberts that's going to make Barack Obama vice president. He'll give the green light to both. Obamacare and Obama coming back.
Now, the thing about that, though, is the naming, when a president has to name a vice president, it has to be okayed with the Senate. And if it's after November and come January, if everything goes as pretty much expected, it will be a Republican-controlled House, and it's not going to go through at that point.
But somebody has to become vice president.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be Barack Obama. I don't think he's not going to pass a Republican Senate. Isn't going to approve of Barack Obama for vice president.
Are you sure?
No, nobody's sure anything, but I'm pretty confident.
Hey, Joe, what was the vote on the Supreme Court justice just now?
47-53. We had three Republicans.
You had 3 Republicans who flipped, right? Well, why won't the same three Republicans do it again?
Well, because that's assuming that that's assuming the Senate is still 50-50. I really don't think, I don't expect the Senate to be 50-50 come January.
If you've got 3 turncoats on this, why wouldn't there be at least that many for Obama being vice president?
It's all speculation. This is all what if. I mean, I get it. I get what you're putting out there. I understand
Who else is there going to be?
There's got to be.
What?
Maybe Hillary?
In the Republican Senate is going to approve that?
No, I don't think so. That's my point. I think that if Joe, if they get and here's the question, right? Because you have to either allow Kamala to become president and appoint a VP, or you get rid of Kamala and you put the VP in before Joe.
No, Kamala rises to president, period, as soon as Joe resigns. That's the order. And then Kamala has the powers to nominate the vice president.
All right. But
Ford.
Some of the other discussion out there, Ken, has been that they get rid of Kamala, and that's why they floated, if you remember, right, back many months ago, they kind of floated Kamala as a Supreme Court justice. That got laughed at, and so they pulled it back. But they floated it out there. They thought maybe this is how. So now they got to figure out, maybe they convince her to take a cabinet position or an ambassadorship or something like that.
Joe, hang on. When Obama was in the White House Tuesday, did you see who was all around him and glad-handing with him and yakking it up? I mean, Biden couldn't even get Barack's attention.
No.
He was glotting it up
with
Kamala and all of her friends.
And then Nancy Pelosi. Did you see Nancy Pelosi, right? I mean, she comes up positive with COVID, and I hope it's Omicron and that it's mild and that she's fine. But she kisses Joe Biden on the cheek and stuff and hugs him. And when I think it was Peter Doocy asked Jen Psaki, the
close contact.
And she goes, no, it doesn't rise to the definition of the CDC. It's got to be within 6 feet for 15 minutes. Well, don't you think physically hugging and kissing somebody on a cheek might jump ahead to close contact? It was so pathetic. It was so, and I don't know about you, but it seems like Jen Psaki's body language is giving her away, that she's getting uncomfortable knowing that she's spitting stuff and just lying about stuff, and I think it's uncomfortable with her.
She has 1 foot out the door and the other foot right on the edge.
Absolutely. Hey, Ken, I got to let you go because I only have a couple of minutes here, literally, and I wanted to touch on this Homeland thing. Thanks for the call, man. All right, folks, Joe Mangiacotti Show, Friday edition here on AM 830 WCRN. And if you missed it, a couple of jamokes here have been arrested for impersonating Homeland agents. I mean, this goes back to the first call, Mark's call, about stories not getting covered that should get covered. Folks, you've got guys with Pakistani ties who have been able since 2020 to impersonate Homeland Security agents and befriend Secret Service agents. This is one of the, if not the biggest security breach and threat that we've had in a long time, including one of the Secret Service agents involved in this was on First Lady Jill Biden's detail at one point. Now, we've had tons of fraud being perpetrated on us, right? I mean, when we look at what has happened, the PPP fraud, $500 billion. Election fraud, Hunter's laptop, the open borders, journalism fraud. And now you have intel agents also colluding, right, with the Russian hoax and the phony information, the media doing their job. Black Lives Matter, look at the fraud there. Millions of dollars in Canada for a mansion, $6 million in LA for another mansion. So this Secret Service agent was close to the First Lady's detail. It's Arian Tahzada, 40 years old, and Haider Ali, 36. They posed as agents in Homeland Security. I will get into more of this and cover this on Sunday's show. I'll be back Sunday morning, 6 a.m. for the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are now, of course, Mondays, Fridays, and Sundays. So have a great weekend, folks.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297.
News, I'm Salchi in Grasso. Ukrainian President Zelensky condemns today's Russian missile strike against a railway station in eastern Ukraine, where at least 50 people died.
This is an ordinary railway terminal. People crowded, waiting for the trains to be evacuated to the safe territory. They hit these people.
Zelensky speaking through a translator to Finland's parliament today. Russia denies responsibility. Amazon is challenging a union vote in New York City.
The New York Post says Amazon claims the National Labor Relations Board suppressed voter turnout by how it set up the voting periods. The company is objecting to the labor agency's conduct before and during the polling, and it claims organizers threatened employees into voting in favor of the union.
Fox's Jenny Cosola. America's listening to Fox News.
Searching for fun ways to spend your tax return? Boats for cats. Oh, flotation devices for cats. Don't waste it all on something silly. Spend smarter with Straight Talk. Get our Silver Unlimited plan for $45 a month with unlimited high-speed data and 5 gigs of hotspot data on the nation's largest, most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. If you're looking to get the most out of your refund, your search ends here. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Where are those receipts? Tax day is nearly here, and Chanel is stressing. Her small business needs a bookkeeper to crunch some big numbers.
These spreadsheets make me pissed.
Is Full Service Radio.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
WCRN. Worcester,
Indeed you do.
Metro West.
Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, this is Bob Lobel. With all the uncertainty going on in the world, many people are looking for savings options that have guarantees. And with interest rates at all-time lows, it's hard to find a good guaranteed account. Seriously, right now, the highest 3-year CD available is only 1.2%. Now, there is an alternative. There are other guaranteed and safe short-term accounts available that pay much better interest. Although rates can and do change frequently, there is currently a 3-year account paying 2.55% and a 5-year account paying 3.15%. And some of these accounts even allow modest penalty-free withdrawals during the term, providing a liquidity feature typically not available with bank CDs. This could be a great place for your lazy money that you don't plan on using immediately. Terms and conditions do apply. So for more information, call 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE.
This is Retirement Security Radio with attorney Jeff Monfett of the Visper Group. The Visper Group is a retirement services firm focusing on the wants and needs of retirees and those seriously preparing for retirement. They can help you protect your savings from probate, the IRS, and the disastrous consequences of a long-term medical care requirement like a nursing home stay. Achieve peace of mind and a worry-free retirement plan that includes safety, protection, and income. To attend a workshop or no-obligation meeting, call 1-877-421-6700 or visit myretirementsecurity.com. Now, here's your host, Zip Zipfel, and attorney Jeff Monfett of the Visper Group.
Welcome once again to another edition of Retirement Security with attorney Jeff Monfett from Visper Retirement Solutions here in Worcester. And, of course, for the past 26 years now, they're in the 26th year, creating worry-free retirement plans through a solutions-based approach. That would be Jeff and the rest of his colleagues at the Visper Retirement Solutions. Jeff, how are you?
I'm good, Zip. I'm good. Although I think last week I may have jinxed myself a little bit when I was talking about how we were happy that my kids' hockey seasons, both my son and my youngest daughter, play hockey. And wouldn't you know it, this past week, they've now both advanced into the playoffs. So we've got at least 1 or 2 more weeks. So, although they love it and we're thoroughly thrilled for them to be doing it, it seems to be dragging on and on and on. So we'll see. We'll give an update next week to see how we're doing.
I hate to say it or sound like a retiree, but I'll say this anyways. Back in my day, we didn't have that. We had Little League, and there were some sports teams, but and thank God for it, because I think it's great for kids. It's such an important thing. But basically, we went to the Five and Dime. I bought a plastic wiffle ball and a plastic bat, or you know what I mean, or sandlot football. Yeah. We knocked ourselves unconscious a few times, and we're none the worse the wear for it, I hope, after all these years. But it is great to have, organized sports. And boy, after that long pandemic break, it must be really great for them.
It is. And luckily, most of those sports, Zip, although they did shut down for a little while, most of them came back, so they were able to do it. But it's almost as if a lot of these individual sports are now competing against each other for time in season. And to your point, I remember growing up, you just play town league and youth league, and then eventually you get into junior high and high school and you play for your school teams and whatnot. But now, I mean, there are so many different options and varieties, and now hockey season's still going on, baseball season starting up already again for them, and soccer season for my daughter. And it's just one after another, they just start creeping into each other. But it's a wonderful outlet for them to get out and get some social activity and interaction going with their peers and whatnot, because to your point, there was a long time that we went through, and hopefully getting out of now where that wasn't quite the option, or at least to the extent that we're used to.
And the other thing I'm sure you're quite aware of as a parent, it can get a little pricey, some of these private organizations and hotel bills and things like that. You travel out of state, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. We were up in Maine for a weekend's long tournament this year. We were down in Falmouth, down the Cape, and there's Waterville Valley in New Hampshire. So there's a bit of travel that goes around with it, but it's wonderful, because as much as you complain about it, you can really see the camaraderie between your kids and the teammates, and when they get to spend time with each other in those type of environments, it's a little different than just being at practice once or twice a week and playing in the game. So it's great to see. But there's a lot of similarities with that in retirees. I think coming out of COVID and now getting back into some social interaction, because I'm seeing more and more now with a lot of my clients that they are ready to travel again. And in fact, they are traveling again. So it's great to see that, because it's something that for a lot of retirees, it was so important for them to be able to do, and things that they want to do in retirement, that for many, it was shut down on them just shortly after they retired.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to take some of those trips, and those trips were postponed and postponed and postponed again. And now finally, they're at a point that many of them are getting out and traveling again. So it's wonderful to see people be able to enjoy the things that they want to be able to do in retirement, and be back at it again.
There you go. As we get started this afternoon, get into today's topic, just a quick reminder that the Visper Group, the Visper Retirement Solutions website at myretirementsecurity.com is a great place to get started, to get started thinking about retirement, or perhaps, investigate some of the things we talk about on the program. Most notably, you've got that white paper, which kind of is a compilation of the various solutions you come up with, and how you practically apply a lot of the stuff we talk about week to week.
Correct. So that retirement guide titled How to Plan and Protect Your Retirement in These Turbulent Times, it's a comprehensive guide that really takes into account these past 25 years of helping Worcester County retirees as they transition into retirement. It goes through the front section of that guide, covers a lot of what we talked about actually last week, those essential components to a sound retirement plan, and the step-by-step process in which we are helping folks to begin and ultimately complete their overall plan.
Okay, what are we going to talk about today? What's on tap for retirement security today?
So today we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions around your traditional IRAs, or all IRAs, I guess, in general, Roth isn't included, and your required minimum distributions. There's a lot of news that's happening right now about this. The House actually just passed their version of the Secure Act 2.0, which could have a big impact in a positive way for retirees. But we've already seen some changes in those laws over the past couple of years, since 2019, with the first version of the Secure Act. So required minimum distributions is something that a lot of retirees really need to be paying attention to. So we're going to address some of those frequently asked questions around that, and hopefully be able to provide some useful information.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take our first break, and when we get back, we'll get right into today's topic. You're listening to Retirement Security with attorney Jeff Monfett from Visper Retirement Solutions. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Visper Group has many years' experience helping clients develop a simple and easy-to-implement plan for protecting assets and managing retirement savings. Call 877-421-6700 or visit myretirementsecurity.com.
Hi, I'm Megan Hoffer, and welcome to Heartbeat. There was a fisherman who was alone at sea, and without notice, the engine gave out. He was unable to repair it, and he had no way of contacting anyone for help. As he sat in the lonely boat, drifting at sea, the sun set, and he was left in the darkness. He was desperate and began to pray. The boat drifted all night in the darkness, but as the first light of day began peeking out from the horizon, he saw that he was close to shore and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Perhaps you're going through a dark and desperate night, but just as the calm comes after the storm, trust that God will bring you through this. The psalmist said, "All your waves have swept over me. By day the Lord directs his love. At night his song is with me." Heartbeat is brought to you by the Salvation Army.
Now back to My Retirement Security with Zip Zipfel and attorney Jeff Monfett of the Visper Group.
Welcome back to Retirement Security with attorney Jeff Monfett from Visper Retirement Solutions, retirement planning specialist. 26 years now they've been doing it here in central Massachusetts. Solutions-based approach towards a worry-free retirement plan is what they do. And as we get started with today's topic, just a reminder that if you do hear something on the broadcast or you see something on the website we were just talking about, if you have any questions about it, Jeff is kind enough to take a phone call, no obligation whatsoever. They just, they call the office and set up an appointment with you.
Correct. So what we can do is you can call the office. So if you have any specific questions, a lot of what we cover is certainly general information. However, if you have any specific questions around your unique situation, we'd be happy to spend some time with you on the phone, answer whatever particular questions that you have, and hopefully provide you some helpful information. And then we can really see where, if anywhere, the conversation may go from there. And you can simply do that by picking up the phone, and you can reach us directly here in the office at 508-421-6700. And Mary will most likely answer the phone, and she'll be able to schedule that strategy call for us to connect.
There you go. Sounds good. All right. As we get started today, and as I found out when I started co-hosting the program with you several years ago, I was always sort of under the impression by the time I retired, the federal government kind of stops leaning on me. The IRS sort of has a gentler touch on me, and that I don't really, I get an occasional free meal at Denny's and things like that. And the government's going to go right along with that. And my golden years are here, but it's not quite that way, is it?
No, it's not. And I think we can all be in agreement that unfortunately the government and the IRS always seems to win in each of these scenarios. But, to your point, Zip, and we almost term what we're going to talk about as the retirement account tax trap. And this all goes to really the first step in the process that you should be thinking about as you begin to put together your overall retirement plan is creating a tax efficient income strategy. Because here's what happens is you spend all of your working years, 20, 30, 40 or more years, sacrificing and saving for retirement. And for the most part, people are using pre-tax savings vehicles. So whether they're traditional IRAs or like SEP IRAs or traditional 401k contributions, they may have some Roth versions of that as well. But for the most part, for many retirees today, it's pre-tax savings. So they've been socking money away all these years and really building and accumulating that nest egg, thinking, great, I'm building towards my goal. I'm going to have X number of dollars in that nest egg, and then I'm going to be able to retire and start drawing on it. But one thing we know for sure is that value that you see on your statement, Zip, not only is it just a paper value because it's going to be up and down with the market, but that's not a real value, because guess what? Uncle Sam is your partner in retirement within that account, because they're waiting for, between federal and state, somewhere between 20 to 30 or more % of the balance of those accounts is really owned by the IRS. So they are your silent partner in retirement. So we need to know and understand that and make sure that as you're building your plan out, we are accounting for the IRS and how they are going to be treating your retirement assets, and coordinating the assets in a manner in which we can create as much tax efficiency as possible.
Let me ask you this, to put it in super layman terms, what's the major difference, just looking at it on paper, of a tax return you file in your working years as opposed to that tax return you file in retirement? What's the major difference?
Well, that's really changed now, Zip, over the past couple of years, because I would say years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of people, when they were in their working years, they were itemizing, and there were other deductions that they were taking. But now with the new tax laws and the increased level of the standard deduction, I don't know the exact percentages, but I believe the IRS states that about 80 to 90% of the, or plus of the US population now just uses the higher standard deduction features. So that's not much of a change from your working years to retirement years because you're getting the same there. So, you know, granted, yes, the kids are going to be grown and out of the house and mortgages are going to be paid off and those sorts of things. So some of those old deductions that were there in the past or things that you previously itemized aren't going to be there. And the income perhaps is going to be a little bit lower. So there's a few things that change. But one of the bigger misnomers is that when we ask the question, well, do you think taxes are going to be higher or lower in the future or in retirement? I'd say 5 or 10 years ago, the answer was they're going to be lower, they're going to be lower, they're going to be lower. However, what we know for sure is when we take a look at the tax landscape today, I think the majority of people are going to answer the other way, that taxes are going to be higher, is when we look at the fact that, you know, for better or worse, we've taken on over the past several years trillions and trillions of dollars of new debt. And one thing that we know is that when the IRS or the government, let's say, has this massive debt, well, what's one way that they look to generate revenue? Is they look at you and I and every other American to say, okay, how are there different ways that we can potentially change the tax laws, raise tax rates, and those sorts of things to generate that additional tax revenue? So that's one thing that I would certainly be mindful of as you're moving forward into retirement, is that you may very well be in the same, if not a little bit higher of a tax bracket because of some of these tax laws changes.
Well, and again, I guess what I was kind of hinting at is that when you're forced to withdraw from your tax sheltered accounts, that can crank you into a different tax bracket that you were in. Is that fair to say?
Correct. For a lot of our clients, Zip, they're familiar, or at least they're aware of the fact that the IRS is waiting there for you to start taking those distributions, so essentially they can tax you on them. And that's really why you have to take them, is because the IRS says, okay, Zip, we've given you all these years of tax deferral in that SEP IRA account that you've been contributing to because you were self-employed. Now it's time to start taking money out so that we can tax you on it. You know, we don't particularly care if you spend it or not. We just want to tax you on that. And you know, for many people and for many of our clients, in fact, who have done a real good job of saving for retirement, when you look at the income that they already have coming in between some pensions and Social Security, and maybe there's some other passive sources of income, most of the time they don't need the full amount of that required distribution for income. So it's taking money out and really paying some unnecessary tax in regards to that distribution. So those are some of the things that we're going to address as we continue throughout the show today.
Okay, well, so essentially, I mean, I suppose you could look at the required minimum distributions as income. Well, they are income, correct? The IRS treats them as income as if you had earned it.
Correct.
Right.
So any distributions, if every dime that you draw out of your traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, your 403b plans, your smart plans, whatever it is that you are utilizing with your employer, if you are contributing on a pre-tax basis, every dollar that you draw out is taxable income. So that's really step number one, is looking and forecasting down the road into retirement, saying, okay, well, depending on the age at which you're going to retire, saying, well, we better plan for once you reach, it was age 70 and a half, and then in 2019, through the first version of Secure Act, they've now pushed that out to age 72 as of right now, is the age at which you have to start taking those withdrawals. So we better be forecasting and planning on that once we reach that age, we're going to have this additional source of income coming out. Because we don't want to be creating a strategy around drawing from other sources that may be less tax advantaged or more tax advantaged or whatever it is, and not thinking about what's going to happen down the line. because we don't want to pay, and I don't think anybody wants to pay any more unnecessary tax. So it's making sure that our plan is looking at both of our needs now when we retire, but also forecasting forward to see what's going to be happening in the environment in regards to other distributions that have to come out of those accounts.
Okay, we're at our second break. We'll continue today's discussion in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Retirement Security with attorney Jeff Monfett from Visper Retirement Solutions. Back in a minute.
The Visper Group will provide you with the information and tools you need to keep your savings guaranteed and safe. Call 877-421-6700 or visit myretirementsecurity.com.
Your home for full-service radio is 830 WCRN. Weekday mornings 4 till 10, it's Boston 25, giving you the latest news, traffic, and weather to start your day. Middays are live and local with Drew Mortgage and Frankie Boyer. Afternoons from 3 till 7, it's the Howie Carr Show. And every night, relax with your favorite soft hits with the music of the North Star. It's all right here on Full Service Radio. 830 WCRN. If you enjoy listening to Full Service Radio AM 830 WCRN, don't forget you can stream WCRN on your computer or on your phone at WCRNradio.com and on your Amazon Alexa by saying, "Alexa, listen to WCRN." On the radio, in your car, on your computer or phone. We are Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN. Do you often wonder how you're going to prepare for retirement while at the same time put the kids through college? Are you worried about supporting aging parents or about the possibility of outliving your assets? Bob Gustafson is a certified financial planner and the owner of Triton Financial Group. Their unique three-pronged approach of combining true comprehensive planning with cost-effective wealth management services has helped hundreds of people like you navigate questions like these and many others for more than 20 years. Most importantly, Triton Financial Group serves clients in a fiduciary capacity, which simply means they work for your best interest and not those of some large investment or insurance company. For more information, please call Bob at 508-480-8383 or visit TritonFinancialGroup.com. All initial consultations are always offered at no cost or obligation. And be sure to listen to the Financial Focus Wednesday mornings at 10, right here on WCRN. Saturday mornings at 11, it's 2 hours of fun, informative talk about everything in the spirit world. Join Ryan and Randall as they present It's the Liquor Talking. A good time is always on tap with It's the Liquor Talking, right here on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Hi, this is Jerry Doherty from Making Money Last. If you think the economy is doing well, I've got even more good news. Making Money Last will now be heard right here on WCRN 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 11 to noon. So be sure to tune in.
Hi, this is Bob Lobel. With all the uncertainty going on in the world, many people are looking for savings options that have guarantees. And with interest rates at all-time lows, it's hard to find a good guaranteed account. Seriously, right now, the highest 3-year CD available is only 1.2%. Now, there is an alternative. There are other guaranteed and safe short-term accounts available that pay much better interest. Although rates can and do change frequently, there is currently a 3-year account paying 2.55% and a 5-year account paying 3.15%. And some of these accounts even allow modest penalty-free withdrawals during the term, providing a liquidity feature typically not available with bank CDs. This could be a great place for your lazy money that you don't plan on using immediately. Terms and conditions do apply, so for more information, call 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE.
I'll never could hear anything. You feel kind of isolated.
I had the radio so high that the neighbors complained.
If you or a loved one can identify with this, the hearing aid specialists Peter and Alex Lee at Professional Hearing on 33 Lyman Street in Westboro can correct or restore your hearing. Don't miss out on what you're not hearing. Call Peter and Alex Lee at 508-366-8686 or on the web at prohearinghealth.com.
I would not hesitate to recommend Peter to anybody who is having hearing difficulties. Sometimes we don't realize that we're having hearing difficulties until we have our hearing tested.
To find out if you have a hearing loss, call today, 508-366-8686, or go to prohearinghealth.com. Professional Hearing in Westboro. Schedule your free consultation now.
If you were to ask any retiree in a word, they would tell you that retirement is all about income. Income in retirement is a permission slip to enjoy life. Income provides the freedom to spend money each month, knowing that more will arrive next month and the month after that. As important as it is to accumulate assets for your retirement, it's equally, if not more important, to maximize the income being generated from your assets. My name is Jerry Doherty, and my radio program, Making Money Last, has been heard right here on WCRN. Well, do you know if your retirement income is as high as it could be? Are you living off less than you should be? Well, I'd like to offer you a complimentary review to answer that very question. Simply call my office at 877-772-1776. I'm conveniently located right on Route 9 in Westboro. Again, my number is 877-772-1776. Let's increase your income today.
Think your child might have swallowed the wrong medication, gotten into your household products, had a reaction to a bite or a sting? Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester, Metro West.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. I mean, we are looking so much better this afternoon after a solid soaking this morning. We're going to see increasing sunshine, and I think for most of us, keep it clear with highs in the 60s. There is a slight chance for a lonely pop-up shower somewhere out there this afternoon, but the chances are low enough that you should go out and about and enjoy. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
From America's #1 travel radio show, I'm Robert Carey with today's RM World Travel Minute. A frequent thing we regularly discuss with our team around the office is how much focus should the coronavirus receive on this daily commentary or the live 2-hour weekend broadcast of RM World Travel that's heard around the country. We're all over the virus by now. The constantly changing protocols and requirements are maddening, but the reality is we're still in the midst of the pandemic, and that's likely not going to change anytime soon. A frequent question we receive: what will happen if you travel outside the U.S. and test positive for the coronavirus? The facts are quarantine and isolation time for travelers vary greatly by country, as can the expense associated with it. The same can be said about testing. So knowing the realities before you go and having a plan in place is super important, especially if you're traveling with others. Travel insurance isn't an option for trips these days, in our opinion, and planning for the unexpected, as well as taking along more than you think you might need in the event that you're delayed, well, it's going to make you a smart and savvy traveler during these unique times. Connect with us and find more travel info at rmworldtravel.com. Have a great day, everyone.
Talk about real estate, mortgages, and the economy on the Drew Mortgage Show, weekdays at noon on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Music all night, news and talk all day on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Hi, this is Bob Lobel. With all the uncertainty going on in the world, many people are looking for savings options that have guarantees. And with interest rates at all-time lows, it's hard to find a good guaranteed account. Seriously, right now, the highest 3-year CD available is only 1.2%. Now, there is an alternative. There are other guaranteed and safe short-term accounts available that pay much better interest. Although rates can and do change frequently, There is currently a 3-year account paying 2.55% and a 5-year account paying 3.15%. And some of these accounts even allow modest penalty-free withdrawals during the term, providing a liquidity feature typically not available with bank CDs. This could be a great place for your lazy money that you don't plan on using immediately. Terms and conditions do apply, so for more information, call 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE. That's 888-440-RATE.
Now back to My Retirement Security with Zip Zipfel and attorney Jeff Monfett of the Visper Group.
Welcome back to Retirement Security with attorney Jeff Monfett from Visper Retirement Solutions. 26 years they've been creating worry-free retirement plans for their clients here in central Massachusetts through a solutions-based approach. And again, a quick reminder that if you have any questions about anything you hear on the program, Jeff would be glad to take your call for a little consultation and perhaps answer some of your questions. And they do that by just basically ringing the office, correct?
Correct. So people can reach us directly here in the office at 508-421-6700. And by the way, you can give us a call if you don't want to go on the website or can't go on the website, and we'd be more than happy to mail you out that retirement guide titled How to Plan and Protect Your Retirement in These Turbulent Times. And again, if some of these concepts that we talk about week in and week out, if they seem like it may be a new problem for you because it's nothing you've really had to focus on as you start thinking about or preparing for retirement, these aren't new problems for us. We've been helping